I'm here with the winner of the Marilyn Mason Award in Organ Composition, Joel Peters. Joel, tell us where you are right now.
I'm in Montreal, Canada, and I'm currently in my office at St. James United Church.
That's great. So tell us about the piece that will be premiered by Dr. Rodlin. Tell us about the title, even.
Yes, so Eine Wolke nahm ihn weg is an excerpt from a recitative by Bach for a cantata for the Ascension of Christ, or Himmelfahrt. Um, and this piece is the product of a few different elements. Usually with um, compositions, there are a few ways that I've gone about it. One is they want a very specific kind of composition for a certain part of the service, and I know that part of the service, so I come up with um, something that works in that context. And then there's the other kind of thing where you have three or four ideas that are interesting for a while, and then there is a an impetus to put all those things together. And for this one, I had been very much interested in clouds recently, and just like how beautiful they are and their change, and just like they continually sort of put on these shows of beauty, really. And then this competition came up, and there was the opportunity to put um, a melody or an external theme to another, to write a composition on a theme. And the Ascension of our Lord was coming up too, and I was sort of like, as great as Messiaen's Ascension is, I thought, like, is there anything else that we can put there? So then it's sort of all those sort of things came about. Well, like, as these ideas usually happen, you walk, and then you're like, I can combine all these things. So then the final factor with this one was these tremolos that are here. So normally with the composition, I tend to look for a sound, or I discover a sound, I think. Like, and in this one, it was very much, I was working with tremolos, and I had been listening to actually one of Hans Ola's pieces that also uses repeated notes, and to try to work all of those elements together. And so, yeah, so the notation here might look odd or intimidating or too easy. I'm not sure what people's first reactions are to it. But essentially what it is you have the right hand here repeating a note, and in this case, the very first note is an F sharp, as quickly as possible. And then the left hand just below it is on the same pitch and also as quickly as possible. So it creates this the sound that is never quite fully there, because in the sense of, it's a little bit like you have on film where the pictures blend together at a certain moment, and it's kind of like just before you get your full picture. So it's this intangible aspect of sound that I really like. That it's always kind of ahead of you, it's kind of around you, and it's never it's just not tangible. And so that then feeds into this recitative. And so the title, going back to the title, Eine Wolke nahm ihn weg, is not the title or the first words of the recitative, but it happens in the middle of the phrase. The first words, of course, are und ward aufgehoben. But I wanted to emphasize this cloud aspect of the Ascension that takes him away, is the literal translation. And so with here then, so I start in the pedals with these long notes. So this is the first time we have a note that is sort of tangible. We can ground ourselves on it. And I also put that in the pedal, because you're literally standing on something that you can hold on to for once, because your manuals, your fingers can't quite hold on to anything.
I
And
think
so, go ahead.
the F sharp is the first pitch of that section of the recitative for the singer.
Exactly. So That pitch for the recitative, I kept more or less the same with some variation on it, but to keep keep the contour the same, and then to have these floating notes that would kind of soar around and above
Mhm.
these recitative, and the clouds then, or clouds, the hands manuals, follow more or less canon. They follow more or less each other, but sometimes they deviate, and sometimes they stay on the same notes, kind of in this in the same way that clouds sort of look like they're stationary and follow each other, break apart. Yeah. So I've talked for quite a little bit there.
Well, it looks like at this point in the piece with the word Volca, the cloud, all the petal drops out, and it looks like it's essentially it's floating. Even it mirrors the text I see coming later.
That's right. And I'm hoping that that's also what is conveyed in the sound as well, and not just visually on the score, but to have um, the cloud is sort of given its own shape, whereas it's not following the recitative, it's not following the manuals. It's just like the cloud is, yeah, it's sort of outside, I guess, of the realm. It like comes into the frame, and it's sort of the passage that is most dear to me, I guess, and it came the quickest, and moving things around as the composition progressed, it seemed like that was the nicest place to emphasize this cloud.
And when I talked to Kathy Rodland, she really enjoyed this moment at in measure 10 where it shifts to all of a sudden a C major
Mm.
feel at this C natural in bar 10. She particularly enjoyed that.
Yeah, well, I'm really happy about that, that she mentioned that, because I do like to try to, especially in this piece, that everything is sort of unsettled more or less. I think it's not supposed to be unsettling in the sense of dérangement, I think is the French, but like to never be completely grounded, I guess, is the way in unsettling. But then with the C major, we get a long C major. We are
Yes. We go
centered
quiet a
again.
little bit. Mm-hmm.
Exactly, and in a sense of too, how the clouds can the climax, and then you also can feel eventually when the storm is settling as well,
And I
and
see
that kind
here
of
that
thing.
the text is now all in the treble area, um, assuming those pitches are where the theme has gone now.
Exactly, and that in the sense too of the top melody is sort of the easiest to hear, easiest to point out, and easiest to see, and you have the text there, the Augen, for ear Augen. It's just like yes, um, the theme is clear, the narrative is clear. Yeah.
Yes. So before we sign off here, would you tell us where we can find out more information about you? And also, I believe you have this very interesting Earth World collaborative. If you would like to say anything about that.
I would love to say something about that. Yeah, so more information about me would be found primarily through the projects that I do with Earthworld. And Earthworld is a multidisciplinary collaborative that uh, has central concerts, and these are immersive story concerts, and we use lighting and projection and sound design to create this story in a concert setting. Earthworld is essentially something that tries to have a central project and then use all these other projects around it to support those, like commissioning poems for those things, or the poem himself might branch off into another entirely new concert. And so it's all about this collaborative aspect of facilitating ideas and trying to create some organic growth, and at the same time commissioning growth, and have a very organic, um, creative model is the idea.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
And
Chelsea.
yep, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.